Welcome to Kimberlyn Coaching with Melanie and Kimberlyn Coaching, where we help women become confident and thrive after toxic relationships. Do you see this? Can you see this? This is a magic wand. My coworker made this magic wand for us in my day job because we work on people's computers, and people often think that we can fix their computers by magic. So he made us a magic wand. And if I have a really hard computer I'm working on, I wave my magic wand. It hasn't worked yet. Thankfully, we do not have to depend on this magic wand today because I have a truly magical tool that is going to help us. So I've been crazy this last week. My brain has been crazy. You know, I've had so many things going on, and I have found my mind whirling and whirling, thinking of all the different things, and all of a sudden one day I thought, wait a minute. I have a magical tool. I know what to do about this. And I employed my magical tool, and lo and behold, it worked just as well as it did in the past. So I thought, let's do it again. Let's talk about it again. I want to share it with you. It is so powerful. And I'm going to, first of all, share my screen with you. So yes, we have a magical tool. Whoa, I didn't want you to see that one yet. Magical tool to help you quiet your brain. So are you ready to become calmer? Are you ready to be able to go to sleep at night? Be able to focus, be able to enjoy your loved ones better, be able to work better at work or at school, or just have a calmer, more peaceful day in your life? If you are, get ready. We are going to learn how to do that today. There's a story I may have told you. This man bought a piece of property, and out on the property at night he would hear these millions of frogs croaking and loud and making him crazy. So he went to the town restaurant, talked to the owner of the restaurant, said, hey, would you like to buy some frog legs? I have 1,000,000 frogs out back of my house, and if you would like some, I would love to catch them and sell them to you because they're making me crazy. They're so noisy, croaking all the time. The owner of the restaurant said, yeah, sure, that sounds great. I would love to be able to serve some frog legs to my clients and my customers. So the man is all happy. He runs home. He's going to go catch all these frogs, and he's going to take them and sell them and make all this money. A few days later, he shows up at the restaurant sheepishly with 2 frogs. The restaurant owner says, what's the deal? What happened? What's wrong? Where are the frogs? And the guy says, wow, I was wrong. These frogs croaked so long, so loud, so constantly that I thought there were 1,000,000 of them, and there were actually only 2. I don't know about you, but that's the way my brain works. So today, for our magical tool, we want to talk about first, how do our brains work, how the tool works, and then ways to use the tool. So how our brains work, I don't know about you, but how my brain works is, before I use this tool, my brain was always whirling, thinking about all the things other people have done to me, things I've done wrong, things that I need to do, things that I want to do, things that I regret, things that I'm hoping for, things that I'm planning for, things that I'm dreading. All the things, whether positive or negative, they're whirling around in my brain, constantly whirling. Like a hamster on a hamster wheel. One day I was asking someone, what are you thinking about? And he said, nothing. I thought, nothing? How can you be thinking about nothing? I'm always thinking about something, and I'm usually thinking about a lot of somethings all at once. If you're like me and you have a whirling brain, you're going to need this tool. Now, there is actually a scientific fact that explains some of this whirling. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. Basically, this says our brains want to finish things. If we have unfinished loops in our life, in our brain, things that we're doing that get unfinished, Our brains don't like that. They want to close the loop. And once they close the loop, then they can let go of it. They found this out actually at a restaurant, noticing these waiters and waitresses, how they could take these orders and remember perfectly these orders. And then later they asked them, what were those people ordering? And they didn't know. So as long as that order had not been served, it was unfinished and their brain could remember it. But once they served the order, they forgot it. This is very helpful to know. We can use it to our effect, and then we can also learn how to turn it off, because for the purpose of having a calm brain, this is often not good. So we have things going on in our life that are not finished, and our brain just keeps running and running and running over this. So here's the magical tool. You ready? I hope you can hear my drum roll, because it is writing. Oh, what an anticlimax. I know you're all going, oh shoot, I hate to write. But wait, okay, give me a chance, open your mind just a little bit, and let me tell you some of the power that writing has. I have to tell you that writing has been the #1 powerful tool for me to use in over 30 years of working on recovery for myself. So how the tool works in general. So writing helps on 2 levels. First, there's external storage. Now this makes sense. You write it down. Something you're trying to remember, you write it on a sticky note, you put it up on your refrigerator, you put it up on your mirror. It makes sense that you're going to remember this better if you are putting this down, writing this on a paper, putting it up on a sticky note. But writing it, putting on that external storage, makes sense that every time you see that, you're going to remember it, and you're going to remember better. But there's a second part that is deeper, and this is called encoding. So the way your brain works is that when you see something, you perceive it, it goes through your brain to the hippocampus, and then the hippocampus makes decisions. What do I do with this? Do I store this in long-term storage? Do I put it in short-term? Do I discard it? What do I do with this? When we write it down, it helps with this encoding process so that we can remember things. Now again, we're gonna talk about this, about being calm and quieting our brain, but I don't know about you, but for me, some of the things running around in my brain are things that I feel like I need to remember. I need to remember this, I need to remember that, I need to remember this. And so part of the whirling is not necessarily something I'm trying to let go of. It's just whirling because I'm like, I gotta remember this. So if you write it down, you've got it there on a piece of paper and you can look at it later. And so this helps with the external storage and the encoding. And there's also something called the generation effect. Neuropsychologists figure this one out, is that we tend to remember better things that we have created rather than something that we've just read. Now I'm telling you these things because this is helpful in some other parts of our life. We're going to move on to what I'm talking about in a minute, but I want to explain to you how helpful this Zeigarnik effect is in learning. Okay, so we've got the Zeigarnik effect and the generation effect. So first of all, the Zeigarnik. Remember, we want to finish things. So if you're trying to learn something, study for a while, and then it's not finished. You go take a break, come back, and because it wasn't finished, your brain was still kind of working on it, churning on it, working on it, and now you come back and you can finish the learning, and then you have a much better chance of learning the stuff better. I think that's really cool. And then on the other thing, the generation. Now, the generation effect, remember, is that we remember better something that we have created. They've done many studies, and mostly students taking notes in class. Now, you know, nowadays many people, students, whoever, take their notes on a laptop. Here's the problem with that. Many of us can type faster than we can think, faster than we can listen and comprehend from the teacher. And so what we find we can do is just sit here and we type all the notes. We just type every word the teacher says. I've actually done this before. I've taken notes for a meeting and typed it all out, every single word. Get to the end, I didn't even listen. I didn't even hear a word that was said in that meeting. So the other part of this is that, so first, when you write it by hand, you're creating it. And the other part of it is that since you can't write by hand as fast as the person speaks or as fast as you can process, your brain is having to do some extra duty trying to decide what is important. What is important enough to write down? How can I get these main points? What is the main point? What can I get here that can help me remember this later? And we're having to do a lot of extra processing. That extra cognitive processing helps us remember it. So here's a tip that you may not want to know and you may not want to do it, but you might want to just try it and see if it helps. If you're trying to learn something, take the notes by hand rather than typing it out on your laptop. Now this is helpful for learning. I just wanted to give you this little helpful thing, but what we're talking about today is how to have a quiet brain. So, I forgot to show you that picture. Okay, we want to know how can we use this magical tool of writing for ourselves. Our brains are all full of all this stuff, good stuff, bad stuff, just lots of stuff. So first of all, all the things I just told you there were all scientific things I learned at my research. Now I'm going to tell you the things that I have learned from experience, the ways that this magical tool of writing has worked for me, and I think will also work for you if you want to try it. So first of all, boundaries. Remember our guy with the frogs? He thought he had 1,000,000 frogs, but when he went out there and looked, he only had 2. When I have all these things running through my brain, I feel like there's 1,000,000 things up there. My brain is just whoa, and it feels like there's 1,000,000. But if I sit down and start writing down all of these things, I eventually come to a point where I say, I can't think of anything else to write right now. Now, I might have written pages, I might have written a whole lot of things, but when it's in my brain, it feels infinite. When I write it on a piece of paper, or several pieces of paper, it is actually finite. And it's usually way less than I imagine even when I get started writing. So for me, what's so helpful is it puts boundaries on whatever this problem is that I'm thinking of. It's less than I think, and it puts it in a box. Helps to calm my brain so I can go to sleep, so I can focus when I can't tell you how many times I had to use this when I was married to an active alcoholic. I would try to go to sleep at night because I had to get up and go to work, and I just couldn't because of all the things, and so I would write. I couldn't focus at work because of the same thing, and I actually ended up getting fired from a job because I couldn't focus. So the tool is very, very powerful to me that I use it regularly. I don't think about it as much now because it's just not part of my life, and I'm going to give you some ways to do that. So here's some different ways to use the tool. You can write it or type it. Now, I don't think typing is quite as good as writing, but it definitely has to be writing or typing versus speaking. Now, there are some good things about speaking and talking and telling things, but there is something that happens in our brain when it comes from our brain, comes through our arm and out our hand. Things come up that you didn't even know you were feeling. I've had this happen so many times. So I really recommend that you write it. If you won't do it writing, but you might do it typing on the computer, go ahead and do it. Obviously, if this is something you don't want people to see, you want to put it in a safe place on your computer, you want to have a password protected or something. But write it or type it. You can't just speak it. For this tool, now here's one of the best ways, and one of the most powerful ways to use it is when you're angry. Again, I used this tool so many times when I was married to the alcoholic because I would be so angry at what was going on. When you're angry, what I would do is I would write him a letter, and I would tell him all the things on this letter that I was thinking. Now, some of those things I knew weren't true. You know how when you're really angry and you think really mean things, well, you can write them in this letter because you may not want to see them and actually hurt them, because sometimes we say things that we don't really mean. So I would write out the letter. I would say everything I was thinking. I don't cuss, but I think cuss words sometimes. And so I would write those here and just write and write and write. And finally, I would be able to go to sleep. Now, I left the notebook by my bed because at night so many times I was so angry I could not go to sleep. And I would use this tool to calm myself. So when you're angry, this is a great tool. Now, here's some other ways to use this. So sometimes when you write that letter, that may be all you need to do. But you may still be feeling the anger, so then you may need to read it to a safe person. You read it to that safe person. This helps you process your emotions, help you feel your emotions. And then maybe after you've talked with the person, then you maybe can let it go. If you still feel angry, you may need to confront that other person. If that is the case, then this letter has still helped you. It has helped you feel those emotions so they're not so raw when you have to talk. I don't know about you, but I get so frustrated if I'm trying to talk to someone, I'm angry, and then I end up crying. Men may do it too, but I know with women, it is the bane of our existence. We do not mean to cry. We do not want to cry, but we're just crying. Using this tool, doing the writing beforehand, will let you process those emotions so you can be calmer and express yourself better. You're not as likely to say things that you regret and that you can't take back later. And you're less likely to forget some of the things you want to say. A lot of times, if you just go in on a conversation, you haven't written this letter first, then I remember before I used to do it this way, afterwards I go, darn, I wanted to say this, I wanted to say that, but in the heat of the moment, the emotion, I'd get all caught up in the emotion, and I would forget to say important things. So if you write this letter beforehand, that will help with that. Now, you may decide you don't want to confront them face to face. You may want to write them a letter. If so, write a second letter. In the second letter, you're going to write it actually in a way, hopefully, that they can hear it, where you're not just putting them on the defensive with all your angry words. But again, it will be easier because you've already processed through so much of your emotions. When you're afraid or anxious, list out your fears. Now, a fear is more specific. I'm afraid this is going to happen. I'm afraid that is going to happen. And we've done some videos on fear and anxiety. And this was something I listed as a way to process that. So anxious is a little more general feeling of something. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm afraid of it, but I don't really know what. And the fear is specific. If you write these down, find out what those specific things are that can help you let go of them. Then you also may want to go deeper into this, and you may want to go to worst case scenario. You can do worst case, best case, and most realistic. So you can do, let's say you're afraid you're going to lose your job. Okay, so what's the best case scenario if you lose your job? Well, best case is you're going to find another job really quickly. It's going to be great, wonderful, better than your old one. It's going to pay better. You're going to like the people better. It's just going to be all great and wonderful. Worst case scenario, you can't get a job, you lose everything, you lose your house, you're out on the street, you die. And so what you can do with that, though, instead of getting so crazy so fast, so I don't get a job quickly, so what then? Well, then I have to give up my car. Well, then what then? I lose my house, what then? And you keep doing the what then until you get to the end. And what then? Well, then once you work through all that, it helps you not be so upset by it. And then you can finally do what's the most realistic. Most realistic is, it might take you a while, but you'll get another job and it may be better or it may not be better. It may pay better, it may not pay better, but it's going to be okay, and you'll be okay with that. And so doing the best case, worst case, and most realistic case can help you challenge and find the truth of these things you're afraid of. There's also another tool called fear setting that I do with some of my clients. If you need help with any of this, some of this stuff that we're talking about, this writing, is hard to do on your own. And if you find that you want some help, I would love to talk with you and see if we could resonate for a coaching relationship. There's always a link in the show notes where you can schedule a free coaching session. So do this when you're angry, do it when you're afraid. Now this is called my imperfect list. This is actually very powerful. This is my own concoction. I'm a perfectionist and I want things to go my way, and life does not go that way. So I end up with little things in my life that just bug me. They're not important, they're not a big deal, and in fact I tell myself, this is not a big deal, Melanie, let this go. And yet it still bugs me. So I make an imperfect list. This is just whenever it comes up, when I just start feeling this kind of a yuck, I don't really know what it is, then I think, must be time to make my imperfect list. So I start writing these things out. And these are so little. There's a spot on the carpet that I can't get out. I lost my keys, I'm having to use my second set of keys, I'm okay, but I'm just so irritated that I can't find my first set of keys. You have kids and the kids aren't getting up on time. I'm having to bug them every day. There's just all these little things going on that are not a big deal. Write them all out. So when I write these all out, I always feel better. And then a week or two later, I can go back and look at it and I can say, really? I was really that upset about that? Yeah, I was. And the little things add up to be the big things if we don't take care of them. So an imperfect list is very powerful. Okay, do it in the morning. It's a great way to start your day. I start my day with 3 gratitudes. I've actually added into journaling as far as what feelings, what emotions am I feeling now. I've kind of gotten a little lazy with that. But do 3 gratitudes. There's nothing better than gratitude to help you start your day right and help you have a clear, calm, positive brain. Now in the evening, does your brain start to wake up about the moment that you're trying to go to sleep? Yeah. So what you can do is leave a notebook by your bed and you can do a brain dump. If you lay there and all of a sudden you have all these things going on, pull out your notebook, just dump it all out. Just put it all out there so you won't forget it. Your brain can go. And see, I didn't really explain this, but once you write this on the paper, your brain thinks it's finished and your brain lets it go. So if you have things that you think, oh, I need to do this tomorrow, I need to do that tomorrow, just do the brain dump, put it on the paper, and then tomorrow morning you can pick it up and you can start saying, okay, these are the things I need to work on. When you're overwhelmed, this goes back to that idea where in our head, it feels like there's so many things going on. Write all those things down and then you can prioritize. It will generally always be a shorter list than you think it is, and it just helps you get over that feeling of overwhelm and you can get back to feeling in control of your life. And this goes along with the same thing when you have a lot of things to do. Write them all down and then prioritize them. What has to be done today? What has to be done this morning? What has to be done right now, this instant? What things can I push off a week or two? What things actually I just kind of want to do them and I don't really have to do them? So when you make the list, you can actually prioritize well and again, helps your brain be more clear. Now when you have a goal, goals in our head don't usually go anywhere. If we have something that we want to accomplish, one of the best ways to take advantage of that generation effect, remember that? When you have the goal, you have this picture in your brain, you have to kind of put it together, and then when you write it down, you're having to repicture it. Your brain is processing. How do I go from that picture there to writing this down? Your brain is doing a lot of processing. It's going to help you remember this goal, and it's going to help you work on it, because once you've put it down and you've started it, so this is a case of using the generation and the zygonet. You you've started it here on the paper, and then the Zeigarnik effect and the generation effect help you continue on because you just started it here, you didn't finish it here. And when you have ideas, I have a client that was just frustrated. She had all these wonderful ideas, great ideas, but she did not have time to put them into effect. She just was frustrated and her brain was foggy and whirling because of all these wonderful ideas. So we came up with an idea of making a list of the ideas every time. So she just keeps paper with her, and when she has an idea, she jots it down. And now she knows that when she gets a chance, things slow down a little bit, she can kick back, she can look at her list, and she can decide how to put some of these into effect. And now instead of it frustrating her, she knows she's got the list, her brain can kind of work on it here and there, and she can put them into action. She can help other people, help herself, her job, her kids, all these different things. Good things can come from her ideas because she's got them on paper and they're not running around in her head, making her frustrated because she can't do anything about them. Finding patterns. Now, if you've ever done any kind of 12-step work, you've heard of an inventory. And this is where you just kind of take note of things that you've done in the past, the feelings that you've had, the things you're doing now, and your feelings. And the purpose of this is to find patterns. If you're wondering, why do I always end up with the same kind of person? Why do I attract the same kind of man? Why do I get the same kind of job where everybody always runs over me like a doormat? Why am I always getting in these same situations? Well, the thing that's the same about them is you. So when you write all these things out, you can find patterns. The patterns might be hard for you to develop and figure out on your own, so this is another time when you might need some help. If you have a sponsor in a 12-step program, that is helpful. If you don't have that and you need someone, obviously, again, you can contact me and we can see whether a coach relationship would be helpful to you. Along with the inventory, the patterns of how we're doing things wrong and we want to change them, it's very important to note the things that we're doing right. It's so much easier to make a list of all the bad things. It seems to be really hard for many of us to make a list of the good things. So if you do this every now and then, write the list of good things. These don't have to be major. They can be maybe you didn't bite someone's head off the other day. Maybe you cooked a meal 2 times a week or 3 times a week or whatever these things are. Any little good thing that you do, write it down and celebrate it to get the sense of achievement and to feel good about yourselves. Because in our world today, we have to work really hard to do that. But most of us, all of us, we've done some good things in our life. We've had some wins, and we forget those very quickly and we zone in. Our brains do this. Our brains zone in on the negative, I guess, so it thinks it's helping us to remember this so that we can do better. So make your list to feel good about yourself. So what's the bottom line? Bottom line is just write. Just write. You don't need a magic wand. You've got a magic tool. Just write. Write short, write long, write in the morning, write at night. There is no wrong way to do it. There is no right way to do it. You just do it. We don't do grades here. It's not even pass fail. It's just if you do it, you pass. We do participation awards when it comes to this magical tool. So let me know if you try this. Send me a message. Let me know how it helped you. If you want to see about working with me and letting me help you do some of this, I would love to do that. And meanwhile, I hope you have a great week with a clear brain. Bye-bye.